My name is Natalie Reeves, and I'm 29 years old. If someone had told me that a single text message would end 5 years of my life, I'd have laughed. I always imagined betrayal came with tears, slammed doors, screaming. But that day, it arrived quietly on a Tuesday afternoon between 2 emails and a lukewarm cup of coffee. I was at my office desk, half focused on quarterly reports when my phone buzzed. The sender's name, Ethan Coleman, my fiancé. The man I was supposed to marry in less than a month. The message was short, almost businesslike. Change my mind. Marrying your cousin Tessa instead. She's better for my future. At first I thought it was a joke. Then the silence stretched. My pulse roared in my ears. I reread the words over and over until they blurred into nonsense. Better for my future. That was the phrase that twisted the knife. I stared at the screen for 2 whole minutes. Then somehow my fingers typed a single word. Congratulations. No argument, no pleading, just that. When you grow up believing that composure equals strength, heartbreak becomes a private sport. I closed my phone, exhaled slowly, and kept typing my report until the numbers on the screen stopped making sense. That night, I sat in my small apartment, our apartment, and looked around. His shoes by the door, his cufflinks on the counter, the jacket he'd left hanging on the chair last night saying, "Don't forget to pack it for the honeymoon." Our honeymoon, 2 weeks in Bali, 5-star everything, already paid in full by me. Well, technically, by his family. The Colemans were old money. His father, Mr. Coleman, owned a chain of real estate firms. When we got engaged, he'd insisted on contributing to the wedding. Just good business sense, he'd said. Except all the contracts, the venue, catering, travel were under my name. Because the groom should handle those things, Mr. Coleman had told Ethan. It'll look proper. I guess it looked proper until his son ran off with my cousin. I spent the rest of the evening doing what any vindictive woman in an online forum might call logistical therapy. By midnight, I'd canceled the honeymoon booking, $18,000 refund. Canceled the catering, $4,500 back. Canceled the venue, lost half the deposit, but still recovered $4,000. Total $26,500. A strange kind of profit for a broken engagement. I stared at the confirmation emails on my laptop. The cursor blinked at me, waiting for the next step. And then impulsively, I opened the travel website again. Same resort in Bali. Better suite. Ocean view. 3 weeks instead of 2. I clicked book. The next morning, the emotional fog turned into steel clarity. While Ethan's toothbrush still sat beside mine, I boxed up his things, shirts folded neatly. Watch in its case, the cologne I'd once loved, now sealed tight, so I wouldn't have to smell it. I even labeled the boxes like a store clerk: clothes, electronics, personal items. By 10 a.m., everything he owned was stacked in the building's storage room. I left a note for the super Ethan Coleman will collect these. Then I composed my first and last message to my cousin. Congratulations on the engagement. Ethan's belongings are packed. Pick them up by Friday or they'll go to donation. No threats, no curses, just logistics. Sometimes silence screams louder than rage. That afternoon, while I was still sorting through the last drawer, my phone began to vibrate nonstop. 17 missed calls from Ethan. I didn't answer a single one. Finally, an email arrived, subject line, wedding finances. Natalie, we need to discuss the wedding arrangements. A lot of money is involved. I replied almost instantly. All vendors have been notified and handled accordingly. Wishing you and Tessa the best in your future together. I could almost picture his face twisting in disbelief. Ethan wasn't used to being ignored, let alone dismissed. Wednesday morning, the calls started coming from Mr. Coleman. I let everyone go to voicemail. Natalie, we need to speak immediately about the wedding finances. This behavior is unacceptable. Unacceptable. That word made me laugh out loud. Apparently being dumped via text was fine, but reclaiming my own deposits crossed the line. Thursday, things escalated. Ethan showed up at my office building with Tessa. They stood in the lobby for nearly 20 minutes trying to charm the security guard into letting them up. He called me to confirm. I said, no visitors, and watched them leave through the glass doors like 2 ghosts I'd already buried. By Friday, I was done pretending to feel guilty. I had the flight confirmation in my inbox, my out-of-office message scheduled, and my lawyer friend Diana on standby, just in case the Colemans tried anything dramatic. That evening, while folding my last set of clothes into the suitcase, my phone lit up again. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but curiosity won. You'll regret this, Natalie. We'll make sure everyone knows what kind of person you are. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back a single photo, my first-class ticket to Bali boarding time, glowing in gold letters. Then I hit send and blocked the number. The following Monday, as I sat at the airport lounge with a coffee in hand, I finally allowed myself to breathe. 5 years of loyalty wiped out in a paragraph. 5 years of love reduced to a financial dispute. But beneath the exhaustion, something unexpected flickered relief. Maybe this was the universe's way of removing a future that was never meant to be. Maybe peace didn't look like forgiveness. Maybe peace looked like a one-way ticket with no forwarding address. As the gate attendant called my flight, I smiled for the first time in days. Not the polite practice smile Ethan's family liked. A real one, sharp, defiant, alive. I didn't know it then. My voice would later narrate in the background. But that quiet Tuesday was just the opening act. The Colemans weren't done with me yet. They were about to learn something money can't buy: consequences. The first morning in Bali was quiet, too quiet. I woke up to sunlight spilling across white sheets and waves rolling somewhere beyond the balcony. For a brief moment, I thought maybe this was it, the peace I'd been craving. Then my phone buzzed. An email. Subject: formal notice. Misappropriation of funds. From Coleman and Avery, Legal Group. My stomach tightened. Of course. I opened it. The letter was long, cold, and full of self-importance. Words like conditional gift, breach of agreement, emotional damages. According to Ethan's father, I'd stolen their family's money by canceling the wedding and using it for my personal vacation. I reread the line twice. The funds provided by Mr. Coleman were intended exclusively for the union of Ethan Coleman and Natalie Reeves. The engagement's dissolution does not entitle Miss Reeves to retain or benefit from said funds. I nearly laughed. The engagement's dissolution. He made it sound like a business merger gone wrong. Instead of replying, I forwarded the email to Diana, my lawyer friend, with a single line. You're going to love this. Diana called within 10 minutes. Her voice was dry, the kind of tone that meant she was about to destroy someone's argument with glee. Diana, conditional. Gift my ass. Do they even know how gift law works? Me, apparently not. They think gift means loan that magically revives when their son cheats. Diana. Send me everything: emails, receipts, the wire transfers. We'll build a nice little legal bonfire out of their arrogance. I sent her the files. Every receipt, every deposit confirmation, every polite email from Mr. Coleman's assistant that included the word gift. 17 times, in fact. I counted. 2 hours later, Diana texted back, You're untouchable. They can threaten all they want, but you're clean. Enjoy your vacation. I'll handle the rest. And just like that, the first wave of panic faded. I took my coffee out to the balcony, watched the ocean shimmer, and almost felt powerful again. Almost. By that afternoon, my phone started vibrating nonstop again, this time with messages from my family WhatsApp group. I braced myself and opened it. The first text was from my Aunt Caroline, Tessa's mother. Natalie, how could you? Your cousin is humiliated. Return the money. This behavior is disgraceful. Then my mother, bless her heart, replied, before I could even type, Caroline, your daughter slept with Natalie's fiancé. Maybe keep your lectures to yourself. The chat exploded. Half the family siding with me, half pretending morality was flexible depending on who got embarrassed publicly. And in the middle of it all, Tessa herself joined in. You're acting like a child, Natalie. Love can't be controlled. We didn't plan this, but it happened. Keeping that money just proves you're bitter. I stared at her message thumb hovering over the keyboard, but I didn't respond. Instead, I posted one thing in the chat, a screenshot of Ethan's breakup text, the one that said, change my mind. Marrying your cousin instead. Silence. Then a flood of typing indicators appeared, disappeared, then nothing. My brother Michael finally broke the silence. I don't know what's more embarrassing, Ethan's lack of decency or Tessa's lack of shame. I smiled. Michael never minced words. An hour later, the situation went public. Tessa posted a long, self-righteous message on Facebook. Some people can't handle rejection with grace. Taking money that isn't yours is theft, plain and simple. I pity those who define themselves by bitterness instead of love. Attached was a photo of her and Ethan, his arm around her, her smile forced, but determined. The comments split instantly. Her friends showered her with sympathy. Mine flooded the post with screenshots of Ethan's text, the engagement photos he'd deleted 2 days earlier, and one caption that read, Imagine leaving a woman via text message and still playing the victim. Within an hour, Tessa's comment section turned into a war zone. She limited replies and edited the post to friends only. That night, Diana called again. Diana, You've officially won the court of public opinion. Now we handle the legal one. Me. You really think they'll try to sue Diana? They're entitled enough to try, but not smart enough to succeed. Let them embarrass themselves further. In fact, let them email me directly. I need a new wall trophy. I laughed for the first time in days. Genuine laughter, not the hollow kind I'd been faking for months. By Saturday, things reached a new level of absurd. Mr. Coleman sent another message this time, an audio recording attached. His voice was clipped, trying to sound calm but quivering beneath the surface. Natalie, I'm disappointed in how you've handled this. You were like family to us. You know that money wasn't truly yours. Let's resolve this quietly, or I'll be forced to escalate legally. I pressed replay, listening to that last sentence again. Forced to escalate legally. It sounded like a movie villain line. I forwarded the recording to Diana. Her reply came in seconds. Tell him to escalate. I could use another vacation. I didn't reply to Mr. Coleman. Instead, I posted a simple message on my private Instagram story. When people show you who they are, believe them. Twice. No names, no accusations, but everyone knew. Sunday morning, my mother called. Her voice was calm but trembling. Honey, your aunt is losing her mind. She called everyone saying you stole Tessa's happiness. I told her happiness isn't something you can steal, it's something you throw away. That made me smile. You always were better at words than me. She sighed. Don't let them drag you into the mud, Natalie. People like them only win when you fight back. Keep your head high and let karma do the dirty work. After the call, I sat by the window listening to the waves. My reflection in the glass looked unfamiliar, stronger, colder, maybe even freer. 5 days ago, I was someone's fiancé. Now I was a legal defendant in a fake lawsuit and the accidental villain of a social media soap opera. And somehow I wasn't afraid. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the water, another email arrived. This one from Diana, titled simply, Good News. All documentation reviewed. Every dollar labeled as gift. No conditions attached. If they push further, they'll be paying your legal fees. You're free. Enjoy your ocean view. I read it 3 times, then exhaled. For the first time since that text message, I felt something resembling victory. The Colemans had wanted to humiliate me, to reclaim control through fear and reputation. But all they did was give me a story, and I was starting to realize it was only getting better. As I stepped out to the balcony that night, the breeze carried the faint sound of laughter from the beach below. Somewhere out there, the world was moving on, and so was I. The ocean doesn't care about your heartbreak. It just keeps moving, steady, endless, indifferent. By the 3rd day in Bali, I started to understand why that was comforting. The waves didn't ask questions, didn't replay text messages, or scroll through old photos. They just existed, free, rhythmic, certain. I, on the other hand, was still half human, half grief. The resort was breathtaking, everything I'd chosen for our honeymoon. The infinity pool curved over the cliffs like a ribbon of glass. Staff greeted me with folded hands and soft smiles, assuming I was a honeymooner traveling alone because my husband couldn't make it. I didn't correct them. Let them think whatever they wanted. That first evening, I watched the sunset from the poolside bar. The sky burned orange and gold, and for the first time in weeks, I didn't feel like I was suffocating. I ordered a drink, something fruity with too much rum, and texted Diana. Me. Just saw the most beautiful sunset. Almost makes betrayal look cinematic. Diana. Please tell me you're not writing poetry. Me only revenge haikus. Diana, good. Because the Colemans just filed a police report. My heart dropped. A police report. Before I could reply, my phone buzzed again. Diana. Don't panic. It's laughable. They're claiming you stole wedding funds. I already called the officer on duty. He's emailing you for documentation. Send the receipts we organized. I did, still trembling slightly. 10 minutes later, the phone rang. A calm male voice. Ma'am, this is Officer Reynolds with the Metro Financial Division. We have a Mr. Coleman here filing a theft complaint. Yes, officer. I have full records showing those were documented gifts, and that Mr. Coleman's son ended the engagement via text message. Via text message. Yes, sir. Would you like me to forward it? Please do. I sent it. The screenshot with Ethan's smug message changed my mind. Marrying your cousin instead. The officer called back an hour later. Miss Reeves, we won't be pursuing charges. I suggest you enjoy your trip. I thanked him and hung up. Then I laughed an ugly, hysterical laugh that startled a nearby couple. The Colemans had actually tried to have me arrested over their own arrogance. That night, I posted one photo on Instagram. No captions. Just the view from my balcony golden light spilling over the ocean. Within minutes, the post exploded. 147 likes in 2 hours. Half the comments were supportive. You deserve peace, Nat. Solo honeymoons are the new self-care. But then came the venom. Must be nice spending stolen money. Cynthia, one of Tessa's bridesmaids. Before I could even think of a reply, Diana commented beneath it. Must be nice stealing your cousin's fiancé. Cynthia deleted her comment 2 minutes later. I almost spilled my drink laughing. By the end of the week, the digital war had fully migrated to social media. Tessa posted a TikTok, a shaky, tearful video of her talking about being betrayed by someone who couldn't move on. Her eyes were red, her voice quivering just enough to seem sincere. He and I fell in love unexpectedly, she sniffled. But she's making our lives miserable. She's weaponizing money to punish us for following our hearts. I watched the whole thing twice silent, then a third time just to make sure I'd heard correctly. The top comments were brutal. Didn't you steal her fiancé? Weaponizing money? You mean the money she earned? Girl, you dumped family ethics for a man with a better car. By morning she deleted the video, but someone had already reposted it. It was everywhere. Ethan tried to post his own response, a long paragraph about moving forward with maturity, but that only fanned the fire. People compared screenshots, timelines, receipts. They noticed how conveniently Tessa's engagement ring was smaller than mine, how their wedding venue was downgraded from a private estate to a local hall. Karma had Wi-Fi. I spent my mornings snorkeling and my nights answering messages from friends who were gleefully keeping me updated. Diana. They're spiraling. Mr. Coleman's threatening everyone who shares that TikTok. Me. Maybe he should threaten his son's moral compass instead. Diana, already bankrupt honey. Even my brother Michael joined the fun. Cousin Tessa posted a selfie captioned, "True love doesn't need luxury." That's rich coming from a woman who cried because her napkins weren't imported. I nearly choked on my coconut water. But beneath the chaos, something in me began to shift. Each morning, I'd wake up to soft sunlight and the faint crash of waves and realize I wasn't angry anymore, just lighter. There was something almost poetic about being halfway across the world while my ex and his new fiancé were drowning in their own mess. I didn't have to lift a finger. Every rumor, every leaked screenshot, every public humiliation, it all unfolded like a storm I didn't start but had front row seats to. Still, I wasn't entirely immune to guilt. One night while watching lanterns float across the dark sea, I whispered to myself, "Am I being cruel for enjoying this?" Then I remembered Ethan's text, "She's better for my future." I smiled. Maybe I wasn't cruel. Maybe I was just free. 2 weeks into my trip, Diana sent me another update. Mr. Coleman tried to file again. This time for emotional distress. The new lawyer he hired CC'd half their relatives by accident. Attached to the email was a screenshot of the lawyer chain, and right there in the thread was a reply from Ethan himself. "Just pay them back, Natalie." I'll admit this all started when Tessa and I began talking 4 months ago, but that doesn't mean you should keep the money. I blinked. 4 months ago. So he'd been cheating before the engagement ended. Diana's message followed seconds later. "Merry early Christmas." That's a confession in writing. I leaned back on the lounge chair, the ocean glowing silver in the moonlight, and realized something quietly beautiful. I didn't need revenge. They were already living it. On my last night in Bali, I posted one final photo, my reflection in the pool water lanterns drifting above me. Caption: "Healing isn't loud. Sometimes it's just refusing to chase what destroyed you." The comments section filled instantly love, curiosity, even envy. But somewhere beneath all that, I felt something deeper than validation. Peace. As the tide rolled in, I closed my eyes and whispered, "They think the story's about money, but soon they'll learn it was always about truth." The waves answered with another crash against the rocks, steady, endless, indifferent. By the time I landed back home, the air already felt heavier, like the storm had just passed, but the ground was still soaked with drama. I turned my phone off, found the airplane mode, and watched as dozens of notifications flooded in. Group messages, missed calls, screenshots. Then one text from my brother Michael. "You might want to sit down before you open Facebook." My stomach twisted. I opened the app. And there it was, a brand new album titled Tessa and Ethan's Wedding Journey. A string of filtered photos filled my screen. Tessa, in a white gown that didn't quite fit right, Ethan in a wrinkled tux, the two of them posing beneath fluorescent lighting and a banner that read, "Tessa Ethan forever begins here." The venue a community hall, the kind with plastic chairs and peeling wallpaper. I zoomed in. The catering looked like aluminum trays of pasta from a neighborhood restaurant. Their luxury cake was 3 tiers of white icing that leaned slightly to one side. I wasn't mocking them, not really, but it was impossible not to see the irony. This was the woman who once cried because the napkins at our tasting were 2 every day. The same man who told me our wedding should feel like royalty. Royalty apparently now meant folding tables and a buffet. That night I called Diana, who had been tracking every twist like a sports commentator. Diana, guess who didn't get her imported orchids? Me, Tessa. Diana. Ding ding. The florist canceled after she refused to pay up front. Apparently word spread about their funding issues. Me funding issues, Diana. Your ex's signing bonus is gone. Tesla bachelor party new suits. They were counting on bullying you into covering the rest. I felt the laughter bubble up before I could stop it. It wasn't malicious, just disbelieving. They had destroyed my life for this. For a party they couldn't even afford to throw. The day of the wedding, Michael became my unofficial reporter. He texted updates like a live newsfeed. Aunt Caroline is sweating bullets. Tessa looks stressed. The hairdresser didn't show. Uncle Robert just whispered that the caterer forgot the wine. Then came the highlight. Dad's face when the MC said, "We're gathered here today to celebrate love conquering all priceless." I snorted mid-coffee. But the best update came an hour later. Her speech. You're going to lose it. He sent a voice recording. Tessa's voice echoed through the phone speaker, trembling but determined. This isn't the wedding I dreamed of, but love matters more than luxury. Some people tried to ruin our happiness, but we're stronger together. For a full 3 seconds, no one in the recording clapped. Then, someone, likely my father, could be heard muttering, "Stronger." Let's see how long that lasts. Michael's next text followed immediately. Half the family left after that speech, Mom included. I didn't realize I was crying until I tasted salt on my lips. Not sadness this time, just something like release. I hadn't asked for revenge, but the universe had scripted it better than I ever could. By Sunday, their wedding photos were everywhere, and so were the comments. Wasn't this the guy who left his fiancée via text, "They downgraded hard"? Guess karma RSVP'd. Even gossip pages picked it up. A small local blog posted an article titled, "Society Couples Wedding Drama Unfolds Like TV Series." They didn't use names, but the clues were obvious: the cousin, the cancellation, the mysterious Bali trip. I read it twice, shaking my head. My private heartbreak had become public entertainment. And yet, I didn't feel humiliated. I felt untouchable. Later that night, while scrolling through photos one last time, I noticed something strange. In every single image, Ethan looked tense, jaw, locked eyes elsewhere. Tessa's smile didn't reach her eyes. I zoomed in on one frame. She was holding his hand too tightly, like she was afraid he'd vanish if she loosened her grip. That's when it hit me. They weren't celebrating love. They were clinging to damage control. The entire wedding was a performance proof to the world that their betrayal was meant to be. But the world wasn't buying it. Monday morning, I met my mother for breakfast at our favorite cafe. She'd just come back from the wedding fiasco and still looked equal parts horrified and amused. "Mom," I tried to be polite, but when she started talking about forgiveness and faith, I almost walked out. "Me. You didn't." "Mom." "Oh, I did. After your father stood up first. Half the family followed us." The Colemans turned red. We both laughed, really laughed. It felt good. "Mom, you know, sweetheart, there's justice and then there's poetic justice. This was both." I nodded. Maybe forgiveness isn't about letting go. Maybe it's just about watching karma handle what you can't. That evening, I got one last message from Diana. "FY Harrison Coleman tried to get a refund from the venue you canceled. They told him everything was under your name." He screamed at the manager. Security escorted him out. I reread it twice, grinning at my screen. All this time, they thought power meant money. But power was paperwork and self-respect, both of which I had. That night, lying in bed, I scrolled through my old photos with Ethan, the vacations, the dinners, the plans we made. Each picture felt like a lie, now a still frame of a woman who kept giving and a man who kept taking. I deleted every single one, slowly, deliberately. Then I posted something new. A photo of my empty hand where a ring used to be. Caption, "Closure isn't found in apologies, it's found in peace." Within minutes, it gathered more likes than anything I'd ever shared. Even people I barely knew messaged me calling me strong, asking how I'd managed to stay calm. The truth, I hadn't. I just learned that silence cuts deeper than shouting. As I turned off my phone, a soft thought drifted through my mind. Not sharp, not angry, just quiet clarity. They built their marriage on betrayal. And betrayal doesn't make foundations, it makes cracks. I smiled to myself in the dark, because I knew the real collapse hadn't happened yet, but it was coming. 3 days after the wedding, I woke up to a message from an unknown number. "Natalie, it's Margaret Coleman. Please just hear me out." For a long moment, I just stared at the name. Margaret, Ethan's mother, the woman who'd once hugged me on Christmas morning and said she couldn't wait to call me her daughter. I hesitated before replying. "I'm listening." Her answer came instantly. "Can we talk in person?" Something about her tone felt different. Not defensive, not angry, just tired. So that afternoon, I met her at a small cafe on the quieter side of town. She was already there when I arrived, dressed simply in beige and pearl earrings, her posture elegant, but her eyes hollow. "Natalie," she said, voice trembling slightly, "you look stronger." "I had to be," I replied gently, taking a seat across from her. For a moment, we just sat there in silence, two women bound by the same betrayal in different ways. Then she exhaled. "I owe you an apology." Margaret's hand shook as she stirred her coffee. "I found out about Ethan and Tessa months ago," she confessed. "He told me it was just a harmless flirtation. I believed him. Harrison." She paused, eyes darkening. "Thought it was better if you didn't find out before the wedding. Said it would complicate things financially." I felt my throat tighten. "Financially?" She nodded bitterly. "He saw your wedding as a merger, not a marriage." Her words hung between us, sharp and heavy. I realized she wasn't just apologizing, she was unraveling. "When Ethan left you," she continued softly, "I told my husband that he needed to return your deposits at the very least. He refused. Said you didn't deserve a cent because you embarrassed his family." I stared at her, stunned. Embarrassed them. "He dumped me through a text message." "I know," she whispered. "That's why I left." The words hit like a quiet thunderclap. "You left." Margaret nodded slowly. "I moved out 2 nights ago. I've had enough of Harrison's pride, enough of Ethan's excuses. They think they can bully people into silence. You were just the first person to say no." She reached across the table and took my hand. Her palm was cold. "I'm so sorry for what they put you through, for what I allowed." For a moment I couldn't speak. I had imagined many versions of revenge, but not this. Not the ex-fiancé's mother sitting across from me, broken but honest. "Thank you," I finally said, my voice steady but soft, "for telling me the truth. I think that's all I ever wanted." Her eyes welled with tears. "Ethan's already complaining," she murmured. "Says Tessa's jealous, controlling, and blames him for the wedding disaster. He doesn't realize he built his own misery." I almost pitied him. Almost. That evening, after I got home, I sat by the window and let Margaret's confession settle in my mind. The image of Ethan, smug, confident, untouchable, began to fade, replaced by the reality she'd painted a man trapped in the very cage he built. The poetic justice of it all was dizzying. My phone buzzed again, this time a message from Tessa. "You ruined my wedding. You just couldn't let us be happy, could you?" I stared at it, a laugh escaping before I could stop it. Then I typed back, "You ruined my peace years ago. I just took it back." And then I deleted the chat, blocked her number, and sat back in silence. For the first time in months, I didn't feel anger. I felt done. Later that night, I went to dinner with Diana, who raised her glass as soon as I arrived. "Diana, to you, the woman who turned heartbreak into a legal victory and a vacation. Me. You make it sound glamorous." "Diana, it is. Most people cry into wine. You cried into ocean waves and made them file their own confession by email." We laughed until our sides hurt, but underneath the humor, Diana's gaze softened. "Diana, you know you've handled this better than anyone I've ever seen. Me, I didn't handle it. I survived it." "Diana, that's the same thing." When I got home that night, I found an envelope slipped under my door. No return address, just my name in neat handwriting. Inside a single sheet of paper, a printed screenshot of an online forum thread. The title, "Ex-Fiancé Steals Family Money Now on Luxury Trip." Hundreds of comments beneath it, some nasty, most mocking the Colemans. At the bottom, someone had written in pen, "Truth always finds its audience." No signature, but I had a feeling it came from Margaret. I folded the paper carefully, slipped it into my journal, and whispered to myself, "They wanted to ruin me. Instead, they ruined themselves." The next morning, a new text arrived, this time from Ethan. "Tessa and I are having problems. I made a mistake. Can we talk?" For a moment, my heart twisted not from longing, but from disbelief. The audacity, the nerve, the sheer emptiness of his words. I typed slowly, deliberately. "You didn't make a mistake, Ethan. You made a choice. Now live with it." And before he could reply, I blocked him too. As I sat there in the quiet sipping my coffee, I realized that closure wasn't a conversation or an apology. It was the silence that finally felt like peace. The world outside kept moving. Somewhere across town, Ethan and Tessa were probably arguing. Somewhere in another part of the city, Margaret was rebuilding her life. And me, I was free. The sound of my phone buzzing didn't make me flinch anymore. It was just life, finally happening without interruption. That night, as rain tapped softly against the window, I wrote one last line in my journal. They took my plans, but not my power. And when they tried to burn my future, I learned to build with fire. I closed the book and smiled. Because sometimes closure doesn't come from confrontation, it comes from deciding you're already whole. 2 weeks passed in silence. The kind of silence that wasn't empty, it was earned. My phone no longer buzzed with threats, gossip, or friendly advice. The Colemans had gone quiet. Social media had moved on to a new scandal. And for the first time in what felt like forever, my mornings were mine again. I started running by the river every sunrise. The air was sharp and clean, and each step felt like shedding another layer of old skin. It's strange when you stop surviving for someone else's approval, you finally start breathing for yourself. Then, one morning, my phone vibrated with a single notification. A new message from a number I didn't recognize. "Natalie, please, just one conversation. Ethan." I froze. It had been nearly a month since the wedding. I thought he'd finally disappeared into the wreckage he created. Against my better judgment, I opened the message thread. "Tessa isn't who I thought she was. The wedding was humiliating. My dad's furious, my mom left him, and Tessa won't stop talking about you. She says you've poisoned everyone against her. Can we just talk clear the air?" I stared at the words, my heart steady but cold. Clear the air. He spoke as if we'd had a small misunderstanding, not a betrayal that detonated both our lives. I typed slowly and calmly. "Ethan, there's nothing left to clear. You made your choice. You walked out, and I learned how to walk without you." He replied instantly. "You don't understand. We could have worked this out. You didn't have to make me the villain." I actually laughed, the sound sharp and disbelieving. So I sent one final message. Worked what out? "You were texting my cousin while lying beside me. You and your family tried to sue me over your own gifts. You don't get to rewrite the story, Ethan. You just get to live with it." Then I blocked him, for good this time. That night, I lit a candle on my kitchen counter, not for him, not for what we had, but for what I survived. The flame flickered against the glass, small but unwavering. I opened my journal again, flipping to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote final message. And then, like closing a book on an old chapter, I began to write not to Ethan, but to myself. "Dear Natalie, you didn't lose him. You released him. You released a man who mistook love for ownership and respect for obedience. You didn't fall apart, you were pushed, and you built wings on the way down. They said revenge would taste sweet, but peace tastes better. You didn't get the apology, but you got the truth. And sometimes that's the only closure the universe gives the kind wrapped in silence and self-respect. So keep walking barefoot if you must toward the life that isn't defined by who betrayed you, but by who you became after they did. You are not what they took. You are what survived." When I finished, I closed the journal, exhaled, and felt something shift inside me. Final, solid, irreversible. There was no anger left, no ache, only clarity. I turned off the lights, walked to the balcony, and looked out at the city. The same skyline that had witnessed my heartbreak now felt like an entirely new horizon. Below, laughter drifted up from the street, strangers alive, unaware, and I smiled. Because I finally understood something. Closure doesn't come when they regret losing you. It comes when you stop regretting losing them. The next day, I met up with Diana for lunch. She noticed the lightness in my voice before I even said anything. "Diana, you look peaceful. Suspiciously peaceful. Me. Maybe it's the joy of not being sued by narcissists. Diana. Or maybe it's the joy of winning without fighting." We clinked glasses, and as the afternoon sun filtered through the restaurant window, I realized I wasn't replaying the past anymore, I was writing the next act. Later that evening, I sat on my couch with my laptop open to a blank document. Title: The Woman Who Went to Bali Alone. Maybe it would become a story, maybe a book, maybe just a private memory. But one way or another, I wanted the world to know that a woman can lose everything and still come back shining. I typed the opening line. He texted that he found someone better for his future. I decided to build mine. As the night deepened, I placed my phone face down. No notifications, no noise. Just quiet. The same kind of quiet that used to hurt, but now felt like peace. And in the reflection of my window, I saw my own faint smile, not the one I used to fake to make someone else comfortable, the real one. They said revenge was satisfaction, but the truth. The sweetest revenge is indifference, the moment you stop bleeding for people who never learned to bandage their own wounds. I leaned back, eyes closing, as the city lights blurred outside. My story didn't end in heartbreak. It ended in freedom. And freedom, I've learned, doesn't roar.